Hi, Christine.
Hi there.
Christina.
How are you?
Hi, Barb. Hi, Christina. Thank you for joining us.
Sure. Happy to. Hopefully we can try to get enough update. I'm going to quickly brush my hair because the thoughts not at the
That's
computer
fine.
all
Barb, how are you? Where are you? Are you out of Tucson or here?
I'm in Ohio
That's what I
still
thought.
for a couple more weeks, and then I'll be in Tucson,
Where in Ohio do you go again?
Columbus.
Okay. You knew I was at Worcester, right?
Oh,
Mhm.
wow. Our um, professional organization is hosting their national conference in Columbus this year,
Cool.
but
So are you going to visit? Oh,
really not going to go. It's the same week as our zero waste collection event, and I really need to be here for that.
great.
Paula?
Is that you, Paula? Hi.
Yeah.
Are you at the library?
Am I?
Yeah.
No.
There's just somebody behind you, and there are lots of books on shelves.
It's Trace behind me and at his desk, and yes, lots of books on the shelves.
I see. We all look like we could be in the library. If I took my fuzz off, you could see I have books on my shelves too. Hi, Mary. Welcome back.
Hey, hi everyone.
Hello.
Mary has been away for the summer.
Oh, that's
Barbara's
a good
still in
idea.
Ohio. Paula and I have been holding down the fort, and Christine apparently too.
Apparently, I haven't been able to get away all summer, so yeah.
Oh, Brittany is here too. Oh, I didn't know she was coming too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've been working together on the project, so on the PowerPoint. So fortunately, between the two of us, we were able to pull it together.
Good. Well, thank you.
I
No.
had another one I was trying to finish that was due because we're doing a presentation to TEP at the end of the month, and they needed it ahead of time.
Do I have to admit these people? Oh, there's Kathy. Somebody in the waiting room. Let me see. Liz Rotello. I don't know Liz.
Lisa's one of my colleagues. She wanted to
Oh,
put in, so
that's fine.
Hi, I hope you don't mind me joining. I've always been a supporter of the League of Women Voters.
Oh,
So
no, you're most welcome. This is an open
thank you.
meeting. Uh, we don't we don't only include women League of Women Voters members. Anybody who learns about it, you probably wouldn't learn about it if you didn't have some connection, but everybody is welcome. So great. So you have a team here. And Kathy Aros, it looks like you're on an eclipse passage.
Oh, yes. The room is messy.
Okay. And I don't know who Chris is, but oh, there she is. Oh, Chris Geimer. Right. Great. Well, we have a good crew today. That's excellent. A great crew on our side to team up with the group. So let's see. Karen Pope, good.
Hi, we had a fire at an apartment a few months ago, and the insurance adjuster wants.
Who is talking? Is that somebody?
Started cleaning.
Sorry, that's Trace behind me, and now I'll just mute my audio.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Karen. Welcome. You're muted. I can't hear you, but There you are. I know you said last time you couldn't find us on Zoom.
I still had to download the workplace again,
Oh dear.
so.
Well, it looked like it worked.
Thank you.
So we'll wait just a little bit longer. I didn't hear from anyone saying they couldn't come, but then I didn't actually check my email this morning, so I could be wrong. So let's see, where did you go now? Zoom, where does Zoom? There you are. Paula, did you get the group message I sent out, or did you just get my message today?
No, I got the group message original one and just hadn't gotten around to replying that I got.
That's fine. I just wanted
But
to
you
make
got,
sure.
but you got my note this morning.
I did actually. I'll look for it. Hold on just a second.
It was basically just to say that I got the message and we're on for November as well.
Oh, great. Okay, excellent. Oh yes, I got there's your message. Okay. So, yeah, last week I don't think Paula got the last month. I don't think Paula got the group message, but she's in the group feed, and so. Hi, is this Kathy Salmi that just came in?
Karen.
Aaron. Great. I know you're a new member and just joined, and so welcome to our meeting.
Oh, thank you.
And I think Janice might be a new member too.
Hi.
Hello, Janice. Are you a new member? Are you a new league member?
No, I've been a member for a few years. I just
Okay.
haven't come to this meeting before.
Okay, well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll sort of start introducing what we're going to do today. Those of you who have been coming in the past know that we have been working on trying to educate ourselves about issues surrounding waste. And this is sort of for you, Christina and Brittany, and just to let you know sort of where we are. So we started last spring. We read a book called Garbology, I think was what it was called, by Edwin Hume, just talking about solid waste and the kinds of issues that it poses. And we also, a group of us did a tour of the Los Reales Sustainability Campus so that we could familiarize ourselves with that, because I know that that has been something the city has been working on developing to sort of, I guess, help manage or help guide policies that the city has put in place about waste. And we're in the process of reading a book about plastics for our January meeting. But we were interested in trying to understand exactly what the city is doing in terms of a zero waste plan. We've done a little bit of reading and looking at some videos about the whole idea of a circular economy and zero waste. And so today I've invited two people, Brittany Aldrich and Christina Paulsgrove, to join us. They're both staff members of the City of Tucson Environmental and General Services Department. Is that right, Christina?
Yes.
Okay. And as I told you in the email I sent out last week, the city has produced what they call a roadmap, a zero waste roadmap. And it's a part of the city's effort to address climate change. And maybe that'll be something that Christina and Brittany will tell us a little bit more about. So we invited you just to try and learn where we are. The roadmap suggests that by 2030, the city wants to reduce its solid waste by 50%. And that's a lot in the next 4 years.
It is a lot for sure.
So I'll turn the meeting over to Christina. Are you going to be the main? Well, you can switch back.
Sure. Yeah.
But go ahead, and you may have a PowerPoint you want to share with us.
We do.
So I think you can go on the screen when you're ready.
Share it.
And I don't know exactly your backgrounds, or I can't really
Oh,
give you an introduction because I don't know much about you, but if you'd like to,
sure. So I'm Christina Paulsgrove, and I have worked in our department for almost 21 years. The end of the month, at end of next month, it'll be 21 years. And when I started, it was all new to me. And so over the last years, I've definitely accumulated a lot of information and I guess knowledge about waste and recycling and waste diversion. Um, but I grew up here in Tucson. I was born here, went to school here, graduated from the U of A. Um, so yeah, this is my community. So I'm very happy to work in it. Brittany?
Hi, I am a staff assistant in the public information division of our department. I've been with the city almost 12 years. Before that, I came from a different municipality from the clerk's office. So I've been in public in the public sector for over 15 years. I have I I've really ever since I've come to the department. I've really enjoyed being here, what we do, our dedication to our customers, and um, and I've really enjoyed everything that I've learned along the way. Like Christina, I this was not what I got my degree in, but I have learned tremendously, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
great. Well, thank you. And so take it away. Whoever's going to start, if you want to
You
start.
have the PowerPoint?
I think Brittany must be the tech
Yeah.
person. So
Okay, so yes, we're going to provide you with a little update on the zero waste roadmap. So as it was mentioned in September 2020, the mayor and council declared a climate emergency, and they set two goals that were particular to our department: 50% waste diversion by 2030 and zero waste by 2050. So next one. So this was the roadmap. So it was developed in 2022 or 2023 is when we adopted it. And then we've just been working on those goals over the last few years. So what is zero waste in Tucson? So it means a lot of things in different, it's an international phrase, the idea of zero waste. And we know we're not ever going to be absolute zero, right? We're humans, we produce trash, we produce waste, we, don't use everything that we have. So in a lot of countries, they believe it means 80 to 90% waste diversion. We haven't in Tucson really come up with a number as far as where we'll be when we reach zero waste for our community. But our goal is to make sure that we're looking ahead, we're looking at opportunities that we can take on and increase our waste diversion so that we can move closer to these goals. Okay, when we did the zero waste roadmap, there were some short-term strategies that were identified. And the first was recycling education and enforcement, residential and commercial organics collection. So organics would be food waste, yard waste, and then making some changes to our brush and bulky that service that would allow us to divert more. Long term, we would like to be able to, and we know the community would support us adopting some kind of curbside organics collection. So we're actually planning a pilot right now that would make that available to customers. And then a big opportunity that we haven't begun working on is the whole idea of diverting construction and demolition debris. So that would be something, you know, a little bit down the road we'll be looking at. And then right now we are in the process of putting an RFP out on the street for companies to bid on to look at a new materials recovery facility, or MRF. That's the recycling facility. We have decided that it would not be best for us to operate that, but to have a contractor continue to provide the service. The RFP allows for it to be either on a separate piece of property or possibly even on the Los Reales Sustainability Campus. Okay, so one of the first short-term goals that was identified was improving, reducing contamination, and the idea that we can do that through more education and enforcement. We do have the ability to enforce, so if people, we tag their container for contamination more than 3 times, we can actually remove them from the program. And we have done that to a degree because we have some new technology available to us. Our routing software now has put cameras on every container, and the drivers can note when they see contamination, and we can identify it, connect that back to the resident. So we can, I see where there are obvious issues of contamination. But we provide recycling service to 148,000 single-family homes. And in the last year, we were on track to collect about 24,000 tons of recyclable materials. That would include paper and cardboard, plastics, and metals. So those would be the 4 items that you can put in your blue bin. The tonnages have gone down over the last few years, and that's due to, I think, the reduction in contamination that we have seen just in the last year or 2. And also the fact that so many materials are made much lighter than they used to be. At the tour of the landfill and the recycling facility last week, it was mentioned that an aluminum can today weighs about 90% less than it did even, 5 years ago. So all the producers, manufacturers are looking for ways to reduce packaging. And so that's certainly contributed to the reduction in what we have collected. But as I mentioned, we've been working to really inform residents about what they can recycle. And, I like to think that some of our education efforts have contributed to the reduction in contamination. Right after 2018, the contamination rate was close to 30%, which was very costly for us because we do pay a residue fee to the MRF. And at that time, when it was 30%, close to 30%, we were probably paying almost $30,000 a month for just for contamination. So we've reduced that to 19.6%, and our costs from the residue fee have decreased considerably. They're about $500 a month now. A lot of what we've done has been to increase our education. Sorry, Brett. And just in the last year or so, we've been doing K-12 classroom presentations through the Environmental Education Exchange for over 20 years. So that's teachers that can sign up to have presentations in their classroom. And of course, we've always been out with, social media and print messaging, and as much as we can do, we use bill inserts, but we really wanted to do more outreach beyond those things. So we developed a master recyclers program. We've actually had it in place for a number of years. We stopped during the pandemic, and we decided that we needed to update it. So we have revised that program. It's now a 5-week course that's open to residents, and they participate and then can offer to volunteer for us and to work with their neighbors to make sure people understand about recycling. We just finished the second class last month. And we also, as a result of the development of the Master Recycler program, we were able to slim it down and make it a 90-minute presentation that we offer through the Environmental Education Exchange at different places throughout the community, whether it's neighborhood associations, book clubs, churches, just, open presentations that are held in, different places. Anybody can sign up for them. And we've been doing that just since May. And the other is that we developed a new website called nowheretothrow.com. And it really breaks down what goes in the blue bin, what goes in the orange bins, the glass, the brush and bulky, the household hazardous waste, and the food waste. So residents have a place where they can go to one place and see all the different waste diversion opportunities and what is accepted in each of those.
Did we lose your screen sharing?
I did not.
Have you all see the screen sharing? Wonder what I did wrong.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. Going.
Sorry. So one of the other strategies, the short-term strategies, was to expand our organics collection. So we have been offering the food cycle program for commercial customers since 2014. Most of those customers are going to be restaurants, smaller groceries like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's have participated. And that, is successful, but we of course would like for it to expand. It's very difficult though, and we partner with the U of A Compost Cats. They've been great. They go and they actually do the training to the businesses and do audits to let them know how they're doing and identify contamination. So that's been a great partnership, and as I said, we've been doing that for quite a while. But in January of 2024, we started a food waste drop-off program, and Lisa, who's on the call, is the program coordinator for that. She took the lead, and we set up drop-off collections. We'd gone up to, the Compost Cats were doing their bucket program, which was a drop-off, and we'd gone up to Flagstaff and we'd seen what they were doing, and the idea of drop-off sites was really appealing to us. At first we started and they were staffed with volunteers, and you could only drop off the material at certain times, especially those sites where we were working with the community gardens of Tucson. But we had a couple of sites that had locked bins, and those turned out to work very well. So that's what we've moved forward with. We started with 6 sites. We now have 15, although, Lisa, are we close to the 16?
We're just waiting for final approval from this parks for the 16th location, which we're hoping and planning for it to be at McCormick Park at their community gardens.
So we continue to grow that program. We have about 3,000, more than 3,000 households that are participating. All of the participants attend a 30-minute training session where we share with them what they can, what they can't put in the program. And really, while contamination is a problem for recycling, it's a very critical issue for compost. You want to make sure that you're putting the right materials in and, not putting in things that just shouldn't be there. We've been really, really fortunate in that our compost program at the landfill or at the Los Reales Sustainability Campus, we have some great staff that are running that, and the quality of the compost that we're producing is excellent. It's been tested and certified, and we bring that back to the community through the community gardens. We're starting to use it in other public spaces for the city, like golf courses and parks, and also schools. So that's been really successful. Between the two programs, the commercial and the residential, we're collecting close to 9 tons a month and processing that. And then we also, of course, have to add other things besides food waste. So we collect the manure from the zoo, from the herbaceous animals, and mix that. And then we also have been diverting green waste at the landfill. If it comes in and it's clean and it's we can send it over to the compost area and it gets mixed in. We are right now, though, looking at putting together a pilot program so that we can see how curbside food waste collection would do. It would be food waste and green waste. It would be a third bin. We'd probably collect it every other week. So opposite week of the recycling. And we'll see how that goes. But I think, we're going to pilot it at first with about 1,500 customers.
And that's the curbside.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And, once we finish the pilot, we would have the data to really help us decide how do we move forward with that? Do we, in terms of implementing that permanently, is it going to be something that everybody is going to get a bin, or are we going to make it a subscription? I believe opting in is probably the best way to make sure that we maintain the quality of the compost that we produce. Okay, next. So with Brush and Bulky, everybody loves the program. We provide it twice a year to 26 different areas. So every part of the city gets it twice a year. And it's a great program. It's also an expensive program. But one thing that we have looked at is that right now, all the material gets placed outside the curb or in the alley, and it's all mixed together. So we really aren't able to divert any of the material. And so we would like to, look at how can we do that? Is it maybe breaking it up and just collecting brush one time and bulk materials the next? But one of the things we are trying out right now is we have two areas where we're running a pilot program, and we offer the Brush and Bulky by appointment. So these residents still get their twice a year collection, but they do not have to do it as according to any set schedule. They get it when they need it. They just call and make appointment. And when they sign up, if they sign up on, actually, whether they call or whether they sign up online, they tell us what material they have to collect. So if it's a refrigerator or it's just green waste, we're hoping that as we move ahead, if we were to do that kind of a program, make it by appointment, people would tell us what they have and we could make sure to divert where we can. So if we know it's mostly green waste, we can divert that. Or if it's going to be, appliances, that can be diverted. So we're just looking at a lot of different options. The appointment also has reduced in at least one area the amount of illegal dumping. When you have a public schedule like we do, you get a lot of people who come in and just drop their materials in front of somebody's house or behind it because they don't have the service offered to them or available to them. And they can avoid having to go to the landfill when they do that. And so one area that we are piloting in was hit really badly every 6 months. Literally the side of the streets from one end to the other would be lined up with trash. And just because people were coming into the neighborhood and dropping the material off. So we've seen a reduction in that. And then most of the people who have participated in it so far have liked it because, again, it's more convenient for them. They can, do their yard work when they want to and not when we tell them. So that is one other thing that we're looking at as far as brush and bulk.
Christina,
Yes.
this is Awilda. Is it appropriate for me to ask a question now, or should I wait until after the presentation?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. What kind of trash was being dumped?
For the illegal dumping?
Mhm.
Construction, anything, yard waste, construction debris, just plain trash, just things that people normally would go in brush and bulky, but unfortunately, our services are only offered to customers who live within the city limits. So all of the services we offer in the city, if they're not offered directly at somebody's home, like if it's a drop-off site, or we're going to have a lot of people from outside the city limits coming in. In some cases, like with the food waste, it's been really nice because it's nice to be able to offer it to residents who live in the county. But in other areas, it's caused problems, like at the neighborhood recycling centers, we saw a lot of illegal dumping, and also with the brush and bulking program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what are we looking at? So I mentioned that we're looking at a pilot program to expand the composting efforts. So that would be the curbside bins. We have calculated that we can probably, just by doing yard waste and other food waste from residents on a bigger scale, that if 75% of the people participated, we would be able to reach that 2030 goal of 50% waste diversion. So it's a big task, but it would really significantly increase our waste diversion. So just, we've looked at other cities. So, Portland, of course, much greener community, but compostable material made up 74% of what they were throwing away. Here, it's not going to be that high, and we'll show you what the waste stream is here. But we do know that food waste and yard waste are a big part of what we throw away that could be diverted. And then, of course, again, looking at construction and demolition debris, right now there's just not any opportunity to do that. But, you know, whenever there's homes being built or renovations, you know, a lot of that material can, in some places it gets reused. And, but to be able to divert it would be really helpful. One thing we are doing, and it's really through the Department of Transportation. You all travel through the city and you see all the road work that's being done. So all the millings that when they break up a street go to the Los Reales Sustainability Campus, and transportation has a contractor who is grinding the material and sifting it so that it can be reused for the next projects. And I just saw that amount at the landfill last week. It's huge. It's a huge amount of material. So the more we can do things like that, it will help us. Okay, so this is what our waste stream looks like. You can see that, you know, all the recyclables that we can collect. One mention, it, you know, tells you about recyclable metal. So we're talking about aluminum and tin. Aluminum that we collect every month is only about 1% of what we collect in the blue barrels. But in terms of the revenue from the sale of the commodities, it's about 70%. That's why so many people collect them and use them, you know, to raise money, but at least they're getting recycled. But yes, we'd like to see more of that come into our facility. Unfortunately, a lot of it does get thrown away because people are not as mindful of, you know, maybe the value. So Kathy is asking if we've done anything to work with the county to offer the services. So our city charter established our department, and it's set up so that we can only offer the services within the city. Pima County really doesn't have any guidelines for that, except that because if you live in the unincorporated county, you can hire any hauler you want. You can decide what services you want, but you're going to pay for them just as we charge our customers as well. But there's no, like I said, there's just no guideline. If you don't want to have service and you want to take a trip to the landfill or to one of the county transfer stations every week or a couple of times a week, you can do that. You don't have to have a service. But I think it would take a lot to work with the county to make sure that residents in both receive the same level of service. I will say that county residents can certainly have recycling, you know, the basic recycling service if they choose to, as can businesses. But a lot of people don't do it because it does cost an additional amount.
Karen Pope had put on the chat that she had some questions. Do you want to jump in, Karen?
Sure.
Are you typing?
Okay. So,
I'm
yes,
wondering if
it,
you can consider
somebody's
recycling
asking.
every week. Because
Pardon?
can you consider recycling every week? I think that might help with the contamination.
Actually, it's reduced the contamination.
Oh.
To do it every week?
When we did it every week, I just have seen the differences in the contamination. Not only has the contamination rate gone down, but we're not seeing any of the really nasty material that used to get put in the blue bins. I like food waste and dirty diapers and things like that because, if it's sitting around for 2 weeks, that's not what you want to put in there. So we have actually seen a decline in contamination. And the other thing is, it was done as a cost saving measure. It was done in 2019, right before the pandemic. We had been considering a rate increase. We had not had one in 10 years. And mayor and council were very hesitant to adopt a rate increase because, we were coming into the pandemic and people were strained financially. So that was something they didn't want to add on to. And so we had to look at different ways to make our collections more efficient and more economical. When we did a study and we went and looked at blue bins in a certain area for 3 months, and we found that more than half of them were only half full or a third full. So it really made sense to go to every other week. Any other questions on that?
It seems like the things that are supposed to go in the blue bins aren't things that are going to cause a big problem if they sit around for 2 weeks.
Right, because they're supposed to be clean, right? If it's a plastic container that had yogurt, you want to rinse it. So it's not like, because you're not supposed to be putting dirty things in the blue bin. So yeah, it definitely reduces the contamination. Anything else? So as you can see from our waste stream, the majority, 91% of what we throw away, well, let's see, is really recyclable, reusable, compostable. So that's what we really have to work with. But so much of what we can do is personal choice. Do we really need a straw every time we have a beverage in a restaurant? Do we, I know that Sustainable Tucson's been working on the repair cafes. Instead of throwing things away, let's fix them and continue to use them. We all like to see everybody with our reusable water bottles because those save a lot of plastic. And, when you go shopping, the reusable shopping bags, there's little things we can do to reduce what we throw away, but it has to start with each individual.
Chris, Chris had a question about glass recycling.
Sure.
Hey, I'm just wondering what the status is of glass recycling. I know there's been an actual dearth of glass available, so people are often milling their own new glass, which is increasing the sand mining. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on glass recycling at this point.
So the glass, taking it out of the blue bin was also a cost saving measure. It's the heaviest material we were sending to the recycling facility, but it also had the least value in terms of as a commodity. So it was really costing us more than it would contribute to the costs. It was just we pay about $99 a ton right now for everything that goes to the recycling facility. But yet, and there's still people that put glass in, but what we see is about a $40 a ton transportation fee for glass. So it doesn't really financially make much sense. A lot of cities have taken it out, and some are just not recycling glass at all. We've seen a drop in how much glass is recycled when we did the drop-offs, and that's between the blue bin and the purple bins. But one of the benefits of it is we found that there's a high demand for clean glass, and the glass that people drop off is very clean. It doesn't get mixed with other trash like the glass that the recycling facility does. And so we have been sending it to Sibelco. It's a international glass recycler. They have a facility in Phoenix, and they actually pay us per ton, just a minimal amount, but it is up $5 a ton that we get. And then they provide the transportation at no cost. So, but they are very happy with the quality of the glass that we're getting in our drop-off sites. And most of that will end up going to bottle manufacturers so it can be reused. The stuff that comes out of the recycling facility tends to be mixed with a lot of other trash. And typically that's going to get used to, for like sandblasting operations or fiberglass, but yeah. So but I will tell you, we're working on a plan right now that would still continue to have drop-offs, but would really offer a tremendous end market for that glass that we think would fit very well into our plans for a more circular economy. I'm not really able to share that right now, but hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be able to introduce that to people. But you can see just from this list, so much of what we throw away, 27% of it is yard waste, 15% of it is compostable food waste. That's a big chunk of waste that we can turn into compost and then keep it out of the landfill, bring it back into the community. There was a question in the chat. I need to open this chat.
You're doing well at monitoring the chat, Christine.
Okay. So next slide.
Karen Pope asked, where in the chart does the orange bag plastic figure?
So that would be in the other.
Other, this the 9%.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the 15% other.
Right. But that's going to be a mix of things. And, I've lately been saying, we don't call them hard to recycle plastics for no reason. It's very, very difficult to identify end markets for those. And things that will, be long lasting. So next slide. So right now, just looking at what we've done. So this is just through September. At the drop-offs, we've diverted 1,500 tons of glass. HHW, 219 tons. That has been going up. But it's a really terrific program because 90% of what we collect at the HHW, either at the facility or at the drop-off events, 90% of it is either recycled or reused. So it's a very, very successful program as well. So it's keeping the bad stuff out of our environment, but it's also contributing a lot to that circularity that we want. Just this year, 529 tons of food waste and yard waste has been diverted, and that includes the Zudu. And that is going up as we have more people participating. And 83 tons of the hard to recycle plastic. And then the regular recycling 22. So we're on track to meet about 24,000 tons for that. The hard to recycle plastics, do you all want me to speak more about that? So, you know, it was started through Ward 6, Councilman Kozaczek, and he introduced Bifusion to the community, and it's a really cool technology, but they basically take the plastics, things that were never recyclable, and they compress them with steam into blocks that fit together kind of like Legos. The issue is there's a very new company. Tucsonans are really, really very environmentally conscious. So we started collecting a lot of material really fast, much more than what Bifusion could process. And so we, you know, started looking at, because we had so much being stored, bales of hundreds of bales of the hard to recycle plastics, either sitting at another recycler here in town or at the landfill. And the material sitting outside is starting to break down, creating microplastics. It was just not a real great situation. So we met people from Hefty Renew. They have other end markets, although that's being tested right now too. It's a tough technology, you know, it really is. Those film plastics, and they're continually looking for more, but things are very tough right now. So we are, as you all know, we're building a building for Bifusion out at the Los Reales Sustainability Campus. It's going to be done by mid-December, and we expect that they're going to be in operation in the first quarter of 2026. But again, we don't know how much they need to process. The facility will be able to process to more than 200 tons a month. But once those blocks are made, and, you know, obviously this is a Bifusion concern, who's going to use them? Who's going to buy them? So you have to have a market for that. So we're just going to have to see how things go with that. But somebody's saying, can we join a list for the curbside? We'll make sure to send, you know, information to residents when we want to start that program, because we'll be looking for residents in each of our collection areas. But it will be limited. And
there was a question at the end from Aaron, I guess, about recyclable plastics. Can you see that question down at the bottom?
So everybody hears that the plastics are not recyclable. And I will tell you that up until just recently, the markets were really strong for the plastics, for the PET and the HDPE. Two big plastics recyclers went out of business in the last month or so. One huge one in California and another one in North Carolina. So we have seen a big drop in the commodity value of PET, and that's your number one plastic, like water bottles. If Brittany, would you go to the next slide? So this is just a short slide. You all know what the benefits of recycling are, but we can move ahead. I thought there was a thing in there about opportunities and challenges, but one of the things that is happening right now with the plastics, tariffs. So it's there weren't tariffs, so it's such a complicated thing that I've been trying to follow it. But a lot of beverage manufacturers, your Cokes, your Pepsis, beer bottlers have made really terrific goals, have set really terrific goals for including recyclable content in their packaging. Unfortunately, like for aluminum, so little of it gets recycled that aluminum, so beverages that come in cans, the manufacturers can't find enough of the recycled aluminum. So they were having to import it, which then gets, right now tariffed. But they're not going to be able to meet those sustainability goals because they don't have access to the material. PET has been one of them, but right now with the cost of oil, it's a lot cheaper to produce virgin plastic as opposed to processing recyclable plastic. And let's say in August, our commodity value per ton for PET was $200 a ton. In September, it dropped to $20. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, but that's all because of demand and because right now it's cheaper to produce the plastic from oil. And then the other thing would be HDPE is still maintaining a pretty good value, probably about $500 a ton last month. And that's due to our plastic is going to a polymer facility in Las Vegas. Republic Services developed some technology where they can break the plastics into flakes that can then be recycled to make more bottles, so it's a more circular process. So PET was, instead of being made into carpet or fleece, it was actually could be used to make another bottle that could then be recycled again. And that's happening with the HDPE as well, the natural HDPE and the colored HDPE. So we've seen technology change. I certainly have in the 20 years I've been in the department, but we're seeing more and more, and it seems like a lot of it's being directed at plastics. So that's a good thing, although I still think that the best way to deal with plastics is to try and avoid them as much as we can. But it's impossible because so much of our food packaging is coming in plastic. So
What would be, this is a Wilda, what do you think would be the alternative for packaging foods and things instead of, what material would it be? Because I agree that there's too much of it and plastic always gets into our system, so it's actually drinking the water and everything else out of
Oh,
plastic
yeah.
is detrimental to our health. So using that angle, that might be a good argument to make for not having everything in plastics, but what would be the alternative?
And that's always going to be the catch because not only is it our food packaging, but if you look at the medical field, how many things that they're using once everything comes sealed in plastic because it's very sanitary to do so. I think that again, I just as a personal thing, I just try to reuse my tote bags for groceries. I don't put all my produce in a separate plastic bag. I try to, just reduce as much as I can. And again, that's, but but the other way is, buy in bulk. Buy, instead of buying 3 or 4 small packages of cheese, get one big one so that you can at least reduce the amount that you're having to throw away. But I don't know. There's definitely going to be smarter minds than mine that can come up with other options. But I think for now, the the, the main thing that we can do is to choose to try and reduce it in our homes. And just because you can recycle something doesn't necessarily make it better. Like I like to use the example of, people will say, what can I put this plastic patio chair that I bought in the recycle bin? Some of them you can, but the ones that stack and they're like $10 a piece. It's like, but why do you choose that instead of something that's sturdier, that's going to last longer so that you don't have to throw it away? And that's another thing, looking at as we buy things, the example of fast fashion, with different international manufacturers of clothing that are, producing things fast and they're cheap and very, very little of it gets recycled or reused. But, if we choose to buy things that maybe are going to be a little bit more expensive in the long run, but they're going to last us longer, then that's, another thing that we can do.
So how does that play into that? You said you do a lot of education with schools and with kids, and what you're talking about here is really circular economy, larger scale kinds of things. Like obviously the children in 3rd grade are not making choices about what's being bought in their home.
Right. And they can't. And so that's where we teach them about recycling and what can be recycled. So when they're making that decision, do I throw this water bottle away or do I put it in the blue bin? That's the things we can teach children. Lisa is just got a grant from the USDA. We're going to be able to start teaching children at schools about food waste and offering to have them, compost. So that's something that we're working on, and that's something you can teach. They're going to be trained, and then in the cafeterias, they'll have options for diverting the food waste. So we can teach about those things and create opportunities where possible. But you're right, we can't get in people's homes and tell them what to do.
And I guess one of the things I was starting to get at was that I think the plastics that you say are hard to recycle, that basically have no easy way of getting them broken down. They're stamped with a little triangle and a number in it to imply that they're recyclable. And so if you're teaching kids, everything that's got a little number on it is recyclable.
Well, we don't.
Adults that not everything that has a number on it is
We actually tried a few years back to just take the numbers out of the equation, because that really is not an indicator of what's recyclable. It's really only telling you what type of plastic that is. And we still, this is still policy. We take any plastic that's a bottle, a jar, a container, that even rigid plastics like a bucket, if you take off the metal handle, those totes that we buy and store things in, and if they crack, those are recyclable in our blue bin program. We had to kind of go back to adding the numbers because so many customers were like, but what's the number? They're so tuned into that number thing that we had to say, okay, 1s, 2s, and 5s. But it's really more than that. There's just no easy way to communicate that to the public.
Christina, this is Awilda again. Thinking about we all agree and we all know that educating ourselves, educating the public about whatever the subject matter is helpful. We also know that, repetition is necessary in whatever it is you're trying to educate the populace about, or whomever. And so I'm wondering, are you already working in conjunction with, because you mentioned about getting a grant, and I know that you have to go out and get money to do the work that you're doing. What you do is very valuable. So I'm wondering if you're working in conjunction with the city, even the county, all the ward offices, the Board of Regents, or just the superintendents in different school districts, to help you get the word out to the consumers through the schools, through repetitious mailings or inserts or whatever, because people, and in more than one language, because people need to get things ingrained, over time with repetition, not to manipulate, but we want to educate. So is that already happening?
It definitely is within our department, and extending like to the ward offices. The ward offices are great. They're wonderful. So whenever we put something together that we're going to share, either through social media or in our newsletter, we share it with them, so that, and they do share a lot of the information that we send to them. County is, again, it's tougher because they don't really offer any of the services, but they do, they certainly reach out to me because they get questions from people. What can I do with this? And so we work together to share that information, make sure that they're up to date. But they don't have their own services that, would be a way for us to send information to people that live outside the city limits. And then the private haulers, they have the responsibility of communicating with their residents, and we work closely with Republic to make sure that we're all on the same page. We actually just had a conversation with them about, wanting to develop some kind of a metro area message that would apply to anybody. But it does take work, and it has, The schools have been great. They'll send, the information out. Um, I think once they're participating in the program that, Lisa had worked on the grant with, we're gonna see more waste diversion, and then the children will be able to, share that with their parents. And, I know some schools are already have community gardens and they're composting, and the families can use the, compost at the different schools, but it's, it's gotta, it's not district wide, and certainly not through all the districts in Tucson.
So several comments about Mary Gresham's question, and I apparently went bonkers and had to rejoin the meeting, so I don't have the old chat. I don't know what Mary Gresham's
Fabric. That's a.
Can you read the question or tell me, because I don't have
This,
that.
how about fabric waste? How does it get recycled, and is there any drop-off place in Tucson?
Okay.
So there is nothing, there is no fiber recycler in Tucson. There's some in the Phoenix area, but mostly it's through donation. So people donate clothes that they're no longer wearing to Goodwill or to other thrift stores. I know Goodwill makes every attempt they can to either resell, or they then turn it into rags and sell big lots of it. But there's going to be some things that they get that they cannot do that with.
There is
But-
there is a place where you can donate fabric remnants, and they make quilts and all kinds of stuff. Do you all know about that place? I can't remember its name.
Is it in Tucson?
Yeah, it's on Speedway, where that fabric store used to be, right near Craycroft on the south side of Speedway.
Not familiar with that.
It's a wonderful, great big workshop area, and women volunteer there and are making all kinds of things you can donate remnants to of fabric.
Is it Quilters for a Cause?
That
We
doesn't
call it-
sound right. I don't think so.
Well, we were just in a meeting yesterday with the director of the Southern Arizona Animal Food Bank, and sharing, how much, because they take so many different things that they then reuse, repurpose. We have been doing a zero waste collection event for the last few years, twice a year, where we partner with different organizations in the community to collect materials that can be reused. So our next event is November 15th. It's at Catalina United Methodist Church on Speedway, and it's a drop off, but we have the Lions Clubs taking prescription glasses. We have Friends of the Pima Library taking books. American Flags to Retire, medical equipment. We're going to have the Animal Food Bank, because they need things like towels and blankets and pet beds and crates and, anything related to a pet. We have Treasures for Teachers, so people can bring pens, crayons, craft supplies, all those things that teachers can use in a classroom. So there's so many things that we use that I say we don't want to really throw them away, because they still have a purpose, but we don't know what to do with them. And if we open our junk drawers, that's the stuff, right? All the pens, if you wear glasses, you probably have an old pair stuck in a drawer somewhere, because what are you going to do with them? But there are these opportunities in the community, and that's another part of education, making sure people know, I can take this old computer and it's going to get fixed and reused and then maybe get to somebody who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford one.
So does your office have a page on your website that would be a directory like that for people? I mean, obviously at your pickups, at your drop-offs, those groups are with you and taking those things, but they would take them if somebody knew where to take them to, like the glasses. There are various collection boxes in
Right.
the optometrist's office. It would be
Brittany, can you pull up the Zero Waste Tucson website?
Sure, give me one moment.
Is this the adaptive reuse program?
It's not adaptive reuse. This is our zero waste collection events. And we just do them twice a year, and mainly it's to bring attention to it because all of these organizations are accepting these things year round.
right.
But if Brittany will pull up the website and show you, it has a list of the organizations that we're working with, and it links to their websites. So, if you do have an old bike and you want to donate it to El Grupo, you can link to their website and find out more.
The other place to check would be Tucson Clean and Beautiful's website. They have a directory of places where you can take specific kinds of things, and it's fairly extensive.
Right. So here's the website. If you go down, it does have, it tells you what we take on another page, accepted items. So here's all the organizations that are participating and what they accept. And then it'll link directly to them. So Ishkasita, are people aware of Ishkasita? Ishkasita Refugee Network, they work with refugees to integrate them into the community. But one of the big things they do is they glean the fruit from people's backyards so that it can get to people who need it, or they actually produce some very cool food items that you can buy, and different, they find ways to use all the different fruits that we have in our backyards.
I know they take things that we have at Mission Garden and make into jams and jellies and stuff like that.
I know, and some of them are so good. So we're growing this slowly. Last spring, we added the Treasures for Teachers, and then this fall event, we're adding the Southern Arizona Animal Food Bank. But they're all great organizations and they're doing such good work. And I think that's, the thing that I really always try to focus on is, we as a city can't do it all. So we have to build these connections. And then, what I can do is, and my staff is, we can then share that information.
So Janice also said the place is called Mending Souls, that apparently on Speedway just west of Craycroft. So that's another thing to consider.
That's so cool.
So it just seems like you said earlier that Tucson is a very recycling oriented city, and I think that's probably true. I think Tucson is a very environmentally attentive city. I just feel like all of the stuff that needs to happen is stuff that is going to take energy and effort on the part of individuals. And so, I mean, I think there's a component of people who are going to be really active at that, but then there's another component of our population that needs to understand that, you don't get nothing, you don't get something for nothing. You have to put in the effort to drop your food waste off at a compost site, or to take your stuff to a recycling event. And I guess I wonder how can we collectively sort of help people understand that recycling is possible, but it's not just going to be putting something out at the curb.
Right. Well, I mean,
Foster that.
goes back to the 3 R's, you know, reduce, reuse, and then recycle. But we, you know, have to add more. There's the repair and the refuse and the, you know, and I think you're very right, Lynn. How do we change people's perspective? So, because we just live in such a throwaway society, and things become so cheap that it's cheaper to buy something new than it is to fix something. And I don't know. I mean, I think we all just have to take it upon ourselves to share the information when we have the ability to, and
I think that's definitely true, but there has to be, I mean, sometimes you have to depend on a little bit of enforcement. Find a way, because we know that a lot of the populace is not going to, for whatever reason, do these things that are good for the environment. Not to be judgmental, on anybody, but that's just people are busy with other things going on in their lives, especially nowadays. But but there must be some kind of an enforcement method that maybe will help.
well, none of the things that we do in terms of waste diversion are mandated, right? We can only provide people with the opportunity. All of the programs are volunteer. So, it's just awareness. But the things we can control, like the Blue Barrel recycling, we do tag people when we see them putting the wrong things, and we can, as I said at the beginning, if we see somebody that's just really not going to do it and just using it as an extra trash can, we can take it away. But so much of, like you said, it's a decision. I don't have to throw my food in the garbage. I could take it to a drop off. But it is about effort. Yes.
Do you think that the message is actually getting out? I mean, so like several of us, I don't actually live in city limits, so I don't get, a newsletter from my ward, from my commissioner, my city commissioner. And if you have a kid in 3rd grade that brings stuff home, then you might be aware of it. But there are a lot of families that aren't in that setting. And
well,
the message getting out?
We can only try to put it out in as many places as possible. I think, when I started working here, people still read the newspaper. So you kind of knew that, if you put something in the news, that it would probably find its way to people one way or, because it might get repeated on the television news, but it would also get in the print media. Now, and social media has been really nice because it's very economical, some cases free, but it also has created this, people are getting their information from so many multiple sources. And there's new ones almost every day. So.
And I guess the other thing I thought of is you're doing educational programs with kids, but I presume that most of that's in the public schools, and a large number of kids don't go to public schools anymore. They go to private schools.
Well, we actually will do our classroom presentations to any school within the city limits.
Okay, I just wondered about that. whether-
We aren't just limited to the public schools.
So if you had one wish for what might change in the next 6 months that would make our compliance, our ability to recycle, to reuse better, what would it be? What would your big wish be? And Brittany, you can chip in on this too. What would you like to have happen if a good fairy came down and bonked us with her wand?
That's a hard one because there's so many different things. Brittany, can you think of anything?
Like a new Murph suddenly appears at Los Reales?
Well,
no.
we're working on that right now. We're gonna
Yeah, I
have
know.
one in the next couple of years. I wish something would happen with the plastic, some way to not have to throw so much of it away.
Were you going to chip in, Brittany?
No, that's a good point that Christina makes.
It seems like we need a boycott. How do we make companies stop using plastic that can't be recycled? How do we do this? I mean, they can wrap things in waxed paper. I've been trying to use less and less saran wrap, and saran wrap is really useful, but I've been actually washing it and reusing it. But I also have these pieces of paper. They're waxed in beeswax that you're supposed to be able to use to form over something. They don't work very well, but if you use rubber band, it helps. And or some of those old, well, they're plastic, but the little bonnets, like shower caps that you used to be able to buy to put on your salads and stuff. At least they're reusable. But how do we make the military industrial food complex stop using these creepy plastics?
Well, a lot of, the efforts these days are around extended producer responsibility. So putting, and some states have adopted laws that have to do with EPR. California, as much as people, and I would say, yeah, we don't want to be like California, have a mandate for everything. But some of the things they've pushed for benefit everybody. Like they just last year or two passed a law that you can't say it's recyclable unless it's accepted in 60% of their recycling facilities. So companies that are producing, they're not going to, they have to change their packaging. They're not going to just do it for California. It's going to extend to, everybody that buys that product. They just got something done that tells people those flushable wipes are not flushable. They can't put it on the packaging anymore. They can't call them flushable because they're not. So
in some universe, they're flushable, but not in ours. Karen Pope put a note up that said Natural Grocers has recyclable plastic wrap. That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just things are changing all the time, and we just, have to look for those opportunities.
Goes back to we the people, doesn't it?
Yep.
Pushing the envelope and getting the political will we need to make the laws that make us healthy and safe.
When we went to every other week recycling, this one man called me. He said, I buy a case of water bottles every week because my kids play sports, and what am I going to do with them? And it's like, I, as a city employee, cannot say, get them a reusable bottle. But
why can't you say that?
Because we can't. We can suggest it.
Oh,
we could
that's right.
say,
I mean, you wouldn't say do it. You could, but you say, well, one option would be, and it would probably save you money too, but your one option would be to do it this way. I mean, that seems perfectly reasonable.
yeah. So, but and I still see it. I was at Costco last week and I was behind somebody that had like 4 cases of water bottles. It's like,
Mhm.
that's probably my pet peeve.
And you can buy water in cardboard.
Right.
Cartons. It's
But they have good, really good tap water.
well,
It's
yeah,
just
that's
fine.
but if you wanted to be like a car dealership that had water available for people in the waiting room, you could get it in boxes and not in water bottles, not in plastic. Anyway, those are all larger questions. So the city balances what it chooses. You have a bottom line, a budgetary bottom line that you have to pay attention to too. How much does that come into play when you are making decisions about what comes next for your department?
Well, when the China National Sword happened in 2018, there were a lot of cities that just said, because we used to get checks from the recycling facility, 50,000 a month.
China National Sword.
Sword? You're not familiar with that? So before 2018, a third of the world's recyclables were going to China. And they were experiencing the same pollution problems we did after World War II, when all the economic machines started happening, all the economic boom, I guess, after World War II. And in the 60s, that's when we started looking back at what was happening and saying, oh, but all these manufacturers are creating water pollution and air pollution. And so that's when we had the beginnings of those laws to protect the environment. China was kind of in the same position. They were getting so much trash from the high contamination rates and their economy has grown like crazy, but they have the kind of government that can say, we're just not going to do it anymore. And that's what they did. They said, we're not taking any mixed plastics. We're not taking any mixed paper. You got to figure, and the markets collapsed for all these commodities. And now recycling, it's not self-supporting. It's not as economical as landfilling, but we do it because it's important. And so that's, again, like how we make decisions, we went to every other week recycling because we wanted to be more efficient and reduce our costs. But it was a really positive change because, yeah, people weren't filling up those bins every week. And so we were saving gas, we were saving staff time, we were able to do some things that financially were beneficial. Same with glass. So, but we're still working on that one. Anything else?
Oh, I haven't checked the chat. Does the chat have anything else we haven't talked about? And I really appreciate your time. Yeah. Oh, there's a note from Karen. Thanking you. And some other comments, which I think we've talked about. Yeah, Janice was saying we need laws. So
silicone. Silicone is, I think, better for some things. Like you buy those silicone bags to put your lunches in or store foods, and those are washable and reusable. So yes.
Is silicone recyclable?
Somewhere it probably is, but not Tucson.
That's where the good fairy comes in again. That's an interesting question. I've never thought about that. Does anybody know? Is silicon recyclable? Mary?
I don't know the answer to that, so, but I did have another question.
Okay.
And that's about the private haulers, like Waste Management. I spoke with that's what we have available to us in the county. And they have a recycling program, and there were a carrier said something about that they actually truck things to a transfer facility that takes some of that to Phoenix. And so that left me with a question of what sort of coordination between, say, Phoenix and Tucson exists, if any.
So Waste Management takes a lot of the recyclables they collect to the same facility we do, but they don't use our landfill. They do transfer it all up to Phoenix,
Okay.
to their own facility.
Okay. Thank you.
Facility. So the MRF you go to, the materials recycling place that takes the city recycling, where is that? And can we do it? Do they let people take tours?
Yeah, we just had a tour last week. So we usually do tours on Halloween and Valentine's Day.
Oh.
We had our Halloween tour a little early. We had that last Thursday, but we take people on a bus to the recycling facility and then to the landfill or to the sustainability campus. And it's a morning, it's a morning commitment.
But does the MRF let independent people contract for tours, or do you have to go with you? Could I like?
Well, you can call and ask them if they could, they do offer tours for the groups.
Do you have a phone number? Can you send me, or can you send me that after we're done here?
Sure.
I think that might be
But
something.
the facility is right there on the corner of Alvernon and Ajo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I visited one once in Ohio, but I'd love to. And people have asked about it, whether we could get in to see it.
Before I do drop off, I want to say a word about the lithium-ion batteries.
Oh, okay.
Those are just pretty much in everything, and they really, really need to go to HHW. They are one of the biggest issues concerning our industry right now because they cause fires at recycling facilities, in trucks, and in the landfill.
Okay, so
they go to HHW, but they're in so many things, just anything rechargeable, hearing aid batteries, any of the button batteries. And then even we had a shredding event and the truck caught fire because probably there was one of those greeting cards in it that had the music that plays music, and the truck caught on fire.
great. What you need to do is when you're putting stuff in, make sure you're checking and taking them out of everything. And
yes,
HHR.
Or take it to HHW.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the time that you have devoted to helping us understand where you're at. This is very helpful. I guess one question I had was that when I looked at the roadmap document, it said that there was going to be a plan after the roadmap. There was supposed to be a plan. I haven't been able to find the plan.
Well, we're just using the roadmap, but then, the city adopted a climate action plan, and a lot of the information is in that. A lot of the same goals. And then there's a lot of stuff in Plan Tucson. And I know you all have done a great job with Plan Tucson and getting the word out. But those city documents all contain goals and strategies for really improving, improving our climate. But a lot of that is connected to waste diversion.
Well, thank you very much. We're obviously gradually losing our audience.
Yeah,
So we should
that's fine.
but thanks for those of you who stuck around, and especially for the new faces. Wilda, are you on my mailing list? Are you getting these emails? Okay, we haven't seen you before, but we're glad to see you. And I think you said your name is Erin Salmi, right?
Karen Salmi.
Karen Salmi. And
Yeah,
I know
I'll put it up there. I used to belong to the league and then I quit the league, or not quit, but I just didn't renew and now I'm back on it again, so.
Good. Well, I just put your name on our list, so I know you're new to our group. So thank you very much for all of you for coming, especially to Christina and to Brittany and Lisa. We haven't seen your face, but it sounds like you're doing good work. So thank you very much. And we'll say goodbye. Stay on, Mary, just a second.
Thank you.
Bye. There I
Bye-bye.
am. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Lisa. I don't know if she's gone or not. She's frozen.
She does seem to be frozen. She's probably just sort of blocked off and didn't realize that she was still on.
So, okay, well, nice to see you. You heard us long.
Yeah. Getting along. I've just gotten lazy. Yeah.
We need to figure out a way that we see each other more than just when you drive to Portal, you stop at my house.
I know.
mean,
I know.
I come to town a couple times a week. You know, I can come in, we can have lunch, I can come to dinner. I don't mind driving. I'm driving
Well,
now.
yeah, when I get kind of settled, we
I'm
still
not
don't.
trying to invite myself to dinner. I'm just saying that it's not like I'm not around. So,
Mhm. No, I mean, just settled in our schedule. We're wrapping up. There are a whole bunch of things that, sort of the fall tasks. And so we're both kind of, not quite certain what time we have for energy.
yeah, no, getting your life back to an ordered schedule is always challenging.
Yeah, and there have been some, the usual sort of, follow-up things that we have to do. The summer was an interesting one. That's all I can say at this point. And we might go to, we have plans, and I hope that the airlines are flying on Thanksgiving. I don't know what the government shutdown is going to do to air traffic controllers and all that kind of stuff. But we were going to go to Chicago for Thanksgiving to see Paul Cardano and company.
Uh-huh.
And a niece anyway. So a lot of those plans are still up in the air. But yeah, it'd be wonderful to get together some more. I haven't grappled with opera or, anything else really for that matter. This was a terrific program though. I mean, I'm impressed with Tucson.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because next week we have Sustainable Tucson coming in, and they're very critical of the city of Tucson for not going far enough. But I wanted to give the city of Tucson a chance to sort of tell us what they're doing and to put a face behind, just the stuff that's online, because I think Sustainable Tucson is right. We should do more, but I think the city is doing as much as a lot within its resource base and within its budget. And so, yeah, I wanted just to see them before.
What's happening is that the league is having an information session on Sustainable Tucson.
No, we have a speaker from Sustainable Tucson for this meeting in November.
Oh, in November I thought you said next week, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. Okay, for next month, next meeting. Maybe I heard. Meeting. Okay.
I'm trying to take notes off of the chat before I close down the meeting while I'm talking to you. So I'm trying to multitask. So forgive me.
Did you stop recording?
No, actually, I probably didn't, but I'm gonna probably stop cloud recording.